Hi, all sharing fans. David the Sharing Human here, and this is a review for those who missed the 10-10 Share-a-thon focused on calculated fields and reporting. In particular, this is a slide here drawing of all the calculated field functions that start from the beginning, which is to remove the lookup functions. We'll get to those at some point much later. So this whole column gets removed. And there's some other lookup functions. Some of them we'll keep, but several lookup functions we're not going to look at first. This is at the very introductory level. We're going to remove almost all of these lookup functions here, leaving us with a different picture. These are the calculated field functions we're going to focus on. This might seem like a lot, but actually there are three different functions here for the three different types of constants. There's text constants, date constants, and number constants. There's also three different functions for formatting text, dates, and numbers. So for example, let's go back to the constants. A text constant might be the word hello. Date constant might be January 1st, 2030, for example. And say for some reason you need to have the number constant 99. For formatting, you could take any text and make it all lowercase or all uppercase. Formatting a date, let's say the date is showing with slashes and you prefer hyphens. Formatting a number, let's say you did some arithmetic and you have a resulting value with several numbers to the right of the decimals, but you're actually looking for money, so you want to round up or down to only 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. That removes 6 of the functions. Let's now take a look at an example of a text function. The example we'll look at is creating initials for somebody. We take the first initial of their first name, we take the first initial of their last name, and then we combine them. Combining them is called concatenation. Taking the first initial is called substringing. Focusing on dates, let's add 90 days from today. That would be using a function called increment or decrement date. Focusing on numbers, we could do some arithmetic. For example, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. In this diagram, you might wonder, why does date difference show as a number instead of a date function? The way these are grouped is by the value that is returned. So the difference between due dates is actually a number, and that's why it shows under the number column. For example, to calculate your age, you take your date of birth and today's date, and you get the difference. And most people do that in years, but depending on age, sometimes people do that in months. You could actually find out how old you are in days. There's only one function that returns a currency according to this grouping, which is called converting a currency. A currency value is a number together with a currency code, and you might at times need to convert from one currency to another currency. Focusing on the Boolean function, it is called true-false condition. The word condition is important. It means you are comparing something, and that condition result is either true or it's not true. Focusing briefly on the object functions, this is something we're going to do later. So for now we're going to remove these three, but there's also some object-related functions that return numbers, count-related instances, and some related instances. We will also take a look at those later. Focusing on the rest of the functions, these are the functions that could return any of the types. So these are grouped in this column called all. For example, you could look up a value as of a date. Maybe some people change their name, so you could look up the name as of a year ago, or as of 10 years ago, or you could look up the name in the future. For example, somebody knows they're going to change their name on a future date. You could actually look that up with this function. But the lookup value as of date can return anything, not necessarily the text like somebody's name. For example, you could find out how much somebody is getting paid as of a date a year ago, or as of a date in the future, 1 month from now. Another important calc field function that could return any of the data types is called evaluate expression. This is essentially an if-then-else, but the values that are returned based on the conditions for the if-else must be of a data type that you specify in advance. For example, you might want to test if a number value is less than 0, and if it is a negative value, you just return a 0. Otherwise, you return the value. The lookup related value calculated field function, or LRV, that is actually tied to using related business objects. So that's an object function, and we're going to remove it for now. This leaves us with only a few functions, of which I want to point out one particular function is in the wrong column. The text length calc field function returns a number, not a text. It calculates on text input, but the return result is a number. Remember, we had also a date difference calc field function that returns a number. It calculates on dates, but it returns a number. After moving the text length function to the number column, this is a more accurate list of calc field functions and what they return, but there is one more correction to be made. We will save this until later as well. This is a reminder of what was shared during the 10-10 reporting and Calc Field Share-a-thon when we defined the Calc Field functions into 3 different levels. You're ready now to start at the very first level, focusing on the Calc Field functions that do not involve related business objects. There are many Calc Field functions that return text, date, number, currency, and a Boolean value that don't involve using related business objects. This is a reminder of our almost completely accurate list of Calc Fields functions. For now, enjoy the challenges.